What's up, guys? It's Smokey Massacre right here, and it is time for my ranking of my first 20 tournaments. Which ones are my favorite? Starting from the least favorite and going to the favorite. Before I get to the list, though, a couple things I wanted to mention. Number one is that nothing I see on this list is meant to discredit any competitor's accomplishments. So if I rank a tournament low and it's a tournament that you did very well in, please do not take it personally. And the other thing is this is not based on the presentation of the tournaments. This is solely based on the results. So let's jump right into it with Tournament 2, which is number 20 on this list. Tournament 2, the big drawback was that it was basically the exact same as Tournament 1 in terms of results. Not too much excitement there. You had Joka Jams and Drago getting to Stage 3, which was awesome, and they both failed the cliffhanger. So it felt a lot like Tournament 1, just with a time limit. And that is why at number 19, we are actually going with Tournament 1, or I'm going with Tournament 1. It's all my choice. So Tournament 1, it was the first ever tournament. There wasn't a lot of backstory, really. Maybe with Hunter, obviously hosting his own course, and some of the other people who had competed on other tournaments. Other than that, there wasn't a backstory on the course itself. Everything was fresh, and that was exciting, but not as exciting as some of these other tournaments. Some of those other tournaments including number 18 on this list, which is Tournament 17. Tournament 17 was the first Halo 5 tournament. And one of the drawbacks to this tournament, not for the competitors, but just for the results, is there wasn't that many surprises in terms of who got to Stage 3. All the best jumpers really got to Stage 3, the people you would have expected to: Ump, Fireball, Puma, Weapon Mag, Gotenks, and Hunter. So that is why Tournament 17 lacked a little on the excitement factor, at least in terms of Stage 3. You had a couple newcomers get to Stage 2, which was really cool, but Tournament 17 falls in at number 18 on this list. Next up at number 17, we're going to stick with some of the earlier tournaments. We're going to Tournament 3. Tournament 3 was the first tournament someone got past the cliffhanger. Hunter obviously making a big name for himself, Drago making a big name, as well as Sleepy. So this was the first tournament where you really started to see who some of the dominant competitors were, and that was the main takeaway from this tournament. However, obviously no one got to the final stage, but the next tournament on this list at number 16 is actually the very next tournament, Tournament 4. That was the tournament where you really saw the newcomers thrive. That made it very exciting. You had BJM and Exposed get to Stage 3 on their first ever appearances. Drago got one jump away from the final stage. So Tournament 4, very exciting. A lot of big moments in that tournament, but not as big as the next one on this list. We have Tournament 14. Tournament 14 was the second MCC tournament. The first one after the bloodbath that was Tournament 13. So you had a new clear record on Stage 1 at 14, and then you had some new people on Stage 3. You had Z-Master getting there, you had Puma getting there again, Ump getting there again, and then of course Hunter. So there was a lot of surprises, also a lot of Stage 2 failures, which is why Tournament 14 is number 15 on this list. Now for number 14 on the list, we are going to Tournament 19. Tournament 19 was the first 100 competitor tournament, and it was also the tournament where we saw the young generation of jumpers really start to arrive, including Rog, Flame Vortex, and Atlantic Champ. All three of them cleared Stage 1 for their first time, and then made it to Stage 3 for their first time in the same tournament. That was awesome to see. You had some shocking Stage 2 failures like Gotenks and Hunter, but it was really awesome to see those guys get to Stage 3 and then remade it to Stage 2, the Ninja Warrior of Halo Grand Champion. So that is why Tournament 19 came in at number 14 on the list. Now for number 13, we've got Tournament 6. You had two people getting to the final stage for the first time ever. You also had Buddy competing as a newcomer. You had a lot of people get to Stage 3, 7 people on Stage 3, which was a record at the time. 2 of them cleared. Neither of them got to the victory, but Hunter and Black Ops on Stage 4 was very awesome to see. It was good to see Hunter get some success like that. So Tournament 6, a little higher on the list. But next up, we've got number 12, which is Tournament 8. Tournament 8 is the obvious tournament where if I were basing this on presentation, it would probably come in last place. But the results were actually very exciting. It was the first tournament that we had the All-Stars. Unfortunately, Drago did not participate. You had 7 people make it to Stage 2. 4 of them cleared, all of them failed, but Hunter got one jump away from the final stage. Dom got back to Stage 3 for his second tournament in a row. You had Destiny's Pro get to Stage 3 for his first time. But Buddy failing stage 1 was obviously the biggest shock of the tournament, so that is why Tournament 8 came in at number 12 on the list. And now for number 11, we've got Tournament 13. Tournament 13 was the first Xbox One tournament. It was on MCC, and oh boy, did a lot of people fail. 50 attempts at stage 1, 46 failures, a record at the time. Only 4 people got by stage 1. Those 4, Bradley, Hunter, and Puma. 3 of those 4, everyone but Bradley got to stage 3. So it was a bloodbath tournament, and kind of what we expected going into a very new, into a brand new game. So Tournament 13 was very memorable as the tournament where everyone just failed. Now moving into the top 10, at number 10, we've got Tournament 12. Tournament 12 was the final Xbox 360 tournament. It was also the tournament where we reached the 500th ever attempt at the course. The biggest takeaway was Buddy Jumps getting back to the final stage. He was already known as the grand champion, but this time he really solidified himself as one of the best jumpers of all time by getting back to the final stage. You also had some other good success stories like Fireball. You had a Drift 7, 46, 47, finally getting by stage 1. That made me super happy. You had Killer Demand putting up a really good tournament, so there were a lot of good successes in that tournament, and then a really good way ending it on the final stage to wrap up the Xbox 360. But that leads us on to number 9, which is one of my favorite stage 1s ever, Tournament 15. Tournament 15 was a very fun stage 1, and it was also a pretty well-balanced one. 11 stage 1 clears, and then you had 6 of those 11 get to stage 3. None of them beat the third stage, though, but you had Fireball, Puma, and Hunter all get to the final jump of stage 3. None of them could do it. They were all so close, and it made it super intense and exciting. But Tournament 15 was a very fun tournament, and you had Gotenks making a comeback after 2 stage 1 failures in a row. So I really love Tournament 15, and it is at number 9 on the list. Now for number 8. Snoz is going to love this one. It is Tournament 9. Tournament 9 was the tournament where Snoz did make it to the final stage alongside just one player who did achieve total victories. So Jop became the second ever grand champion of the course. You had Gotenks getting to stage 3 for his first time. You had Hunter with a shocking stage 2 failure on the metal spin. You also had Dom and Game Types, the All-Stars, failing stage 1, and that was pretty shocking. Both of them were on stage 3 in the previous tournament. So Tournament 9, there were a lot of shocks, but also enough success for it to land very high on this list. But now we're going to go on to number 7, where we have the next tournament, Tournament 10. Tournament 10 is what I like to call the tournament of the All-Stars, at least the Xbox 360 All-Stars, because you had 4 of the 6 getting all the way to stage 3. Unfortunately, Game Types and Dom both failed stage 1 again, but the other 4, Jop, Drago, Buddy, Hunter, they all made it to stage 3, but the biggest twist of all was that none of them cleared stage 3. The only person who did was Gotenks. Gotenks, on his second ever stage 3 appearance, got to the final stage, and that's where Gotenks really put his name on the map. Asians also got to stage 3. I always love seeing Asians do well, so that's why Tournament 10 was extremely memorable, coming in at number 7. And now, for number 6 on the list, we're going with Tournament 5. Tournament 5, it's really easy. It was the first tournament that we ever saw anyone on the final stage, and it was Drago is Sick. He barely missed out on getting total victory, but seeing someone finally reach the final stage was a huge moment for the course, and it was a very inspiring moment for the future tournaments as well. You saw Hunter and Black Ops follow in Drago's footsteps in the very next tournament, so Tournament 5 definitely deserved to be very high on this list. But now we are moving into the top 5 tournaments. Starting off with this one, I love this one, Tournament 18. It was the second Halo 5 tournament, and it was the first Halo 5 tournament where Forge actually had all of its features, so I could bring back some of my favorite obstacles, especially the Jump Hang Kai. Hunter was the first runner in that tournament, and he cleared stage 1. You also had Hook Skywalker get to stage 2 as a newcomer. That was really cool. And then you had, of course, the success of Ump Double Ump getting to the final stage. He was the first person to clear stage 3 on Halo 5. And also, it was his first time getting to the final stage on my course. Sauron Sucks put up a great run as well. So you saw some really good performances. Ump, definitely the highlight of Tournament 18, coming in at number 5. Now for number 4, we've got Tournament 11. Tournament 11 was a really fun one. Puma was number 1 in that tournament and cleared stage 1. You had a lot of stage 2 failures. 4 failures on the metal spin. The only 2 people who got by stage 2 were Hunter and Gotenks. And Gotenks got to the final stage. He became the only competitor still to this day who has cleared the 3rd stage in back-to-back tournaments. So Gotenks had a huge moment right there in Tournament 11. He failed the final stage, unfortunately. But man, Tournament 11 was crazy, and it was fun. Now at number 3, I'm going with Tournament 20. Tournament 20, if I was a prisoner of the moment, it could easily have been my number 1 tournament. It was awesome. You had some big shocks. You had the shock of Hunter failing stage 1 for his first time. You also saw DHG Fireball achieve total victory. That was the big moment of on the course. I mean, it had been 11 tournaments since we had seen a new grand champion, and Fireball definitely deserved it. So that was a very exciting tournament. You had a lot of stage 2 failures, though. Stage 2 failures galore. Gotenks, Buddy, Puma, Pixel, Asians, all these people. So seeing Fireball pull through on stage 2, as well as Chris. It was nice to see Chris get to stage 3. So Tournament 20 was an awesome tournament and a very good story for Fireball, finally achieving total victory. And that leads us on to number 2, where no one achieved total victory, but Tournament 16, 3 people did get to the final stage, which was a record, still a record to this day. You had Weapon Matt, who cleared stage 3 on his first ever try. You also had Gotenks and Hunter, who had both been to the final stage before, both get back. Gotenks set a record for most stage 4 appearances at 3. You also had a record for competitors getting by stage 2. 8 people made it to stage 3, and 3 of them got by it, which was also a record. So a lot of records were broken in Tournament 16, and it was the final MCC tournament and the final tournament that we ever saw Halo 4. So a lot of memorable moments came down in Tournament 16. But nothing was more memorable than the number 1 tournament on this list, Tournament 7. A lot of you probably could have guessed it, but Tournament 7 was a magnificent tournament. You had 11 people getting by stage 1, 11 very talented jumpers. A lot of them struggled with stage 2, including Sleepy, who timed out. You had Soul Reaper getting to stage 2 for his first time, just 1 player as a newcomer getting to stage 2. But Buddy, Dom, Hunter, and Drago all got past the 2nd stage, and then Buddy and Drago both made it to the final stage. So Buddy, on his 2nd ever appearance, got to the final stage. Drago got to the final stage, becoming the first person to make it there for a 2nd time. But the biggest twist of all was Buddy jumps achieved total victory and Drago did not. A lot of people thought Drago was going to be the one to go all the way, but instead Buddy comes out of nowhere and on only his 2nd appearance made history on the course by becoming the first ever grand champion, and I will never forget that moment for the rest of my life, honestly. It was super exciting, and it really just set off this spark for the course that it hadn't had before, and you felt the magic of what it's like to have a grand champion for the first time. At least I did. So I love Tournament 7. It's going to be really, really, really hard for that tournament to ever be topped in terms of my list of favorite tournaments. So that is my list, though. Number 20 to number 1. I'm sure I left some important details out of each tournament, but hey, I wanted to make this video a little shorter. I could have gone on for hours talking about these tournaments, believe me. But you know what I really want is to see your list in the comments. It doesn't have to be all 20. If you just want to give me a top 10, a top 5, or a top 3, or just tell me what your favorite tournament was, please leave your list in the comments below. I really want to see it. But thanks everyone for watching this video, and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. There's going to be a lot more videos to come, a lot more tournaments to come, and who knows if I'll ever do another ranking like this again. But in the meantime, I will see you next time on Halo Ninja Warrior.